Hello everyone, the Abundance Oracle here. Please subscribe if you can. I'm here at one of your favorite and my favorite little beaches. It's been a very long week, as you know. I haven't put down a lot of videos and it's been hot and cold, etc., etc. But mostly it's because my mind's been on what's happening abroad, what's happening here. As you know, my old job used to be to analyze for a billionaire, really, basically. Two of them. What's going to be happening in the future, and where do we go from here? What investments do we need to get? What investments do we need to get rid of? And how do we maintain our abundance? And I know that it's important to you all, even if you're if you're not a billionaire or a millionaire or just a normal person. It's still important to everyone. So here's my thoughts. Where are we going? I think I'm not as worried about international situations. I don't know if you've ever read Art of the War, but it sounds like the international stuff is being handled. It's a lot of a challenge, I'm going to say. I don't want to minimize it. But in the same respect, we're dealing with someone who's running the show, where this isn't his first rodeo. He's been up against these very liberal people for a very, very long time. I think I told you the story once about trying to expand the ballroom and trying to put the big American flag up, and they were all opposed. The local town was all opposed to it, and how he figured out his dilemma. A very smart and clever man. So if anybody's going to help us through the deep state and to break this, I'm going to say, cabal. Can you hear me? Maybe I should do this because it's a little windy. I think he's the one that has the strength to be able to do that. So let's just put that aside for a minute. I think our biggest struggle right now, going forward, the next 6 months, is the confrontation within. There's been a lot of brainwashing. There has been a lot of paid agitation. And there's an agenda, a large agenda behind some people who really are not nice people. I have to be careful how I say this, as you know. So our struggles for normal people, for us, I consider, are you normal? My friends would say, I'm weird sometimes. All I do is think about abundance and money and everything. Yes, but that's what I've been paid for all my life. So now the question is, given what we think is going to be happening and what may take a while to happen and how this might all turn around, the question for me is, how do I maintain my family's abundance? How do I keep without losing anything going forward. And now actually I'm contemplating, how do I take, can you see all that behind me? Families having fun. That's so wonderful. 2 cute little kids fishing with their mama. And how do you maintain that type of relationship and abundance? Your family, taking care of one another. So many families are divided right now. I have a cousin who's not speaking to me. I'm not really quite sure why. It's never been spoken to me. So I don't know. I'm just being with it and hoping that it changes at some point in time in the future. So, how do I help my family? How do I try and pass on? I'm going to call it generational wealth, because I've worked very hard all my life. That is not a complaint whatsoever. I find it energizing. I find it very enlivening. I think my kids like to work hard. So how do I maintain in a crisis situation, which we may have a major crisis? I'm going to sit inside. We may have a crisis just on our own, in our own borders. And that means a lot of cities, the blue cities, are really ruining themselves. The policies are so bad, and a lot of these mayors and governors are just plain ignorant. They're sort of, they don't understand. They think they're going to be part of the winning party that's going to make out when all this depopulation and replacement agenda goes through. And it's already starting to go through. So for me, this is just how I'm thinking. I looked first, okay, stock market. Well, the stock market for me feels risky because I cannot control it myself. I do not have the resources and the people in place and the knowledge base and the day-to-day being on top of things to feel comfortable purchasing that. I see hard assets being pushed. Hard assets might be good. Well, what that means is gold, silver, gemstones, diamonds. Rubies are now worth more than the sapphires. One-of-a-kind things, antiques, old antique cars, things that are not replaceable. The problem with those things is you don't get dividends. You have to buy and sell. And you have to have the capacity to get your seller. So a lot of people watching this, I don't think you have the capacity to get really great deals on the purchases and know the wealthiest people who can afford to spend, $1 million or $1.5 million on a Bugatti or something. So, also on those items, you don't get any dividends. So you just sit with it. That is what I think is good for generational wealth. If you have enough that you don't need any more money. If you have so much money coming in, then I would say, okay, that stuff's fine for your kids. You could put it in your dirty man safe or wherever you have it in Switzerland, although Switzerland now does have to report things. So I'm just not sure. I don't think that's for everybody. And then we get down to real man on the street, which is, my kids are real man on the street. So how do you keep your job? How do you get better and better at your job so that when AI comes along and 50% to 70% of the manual jobs or the brainiac jobs get wiped out? How do you do that? I don't know what your jobs are, but you better start thinking about that because it's going to come faster than you think. And there's universal basic income has been talked about for a very long time. So the socialists, Marxists, they're really pushing for that because there's going to be a lot of people, and some people may be in your family that never even expected to be challenged, might become homeless. What is your plan for your family? Some people even might have difficulty soon because we're going to see more inflation and the prices of food going up. Gas, I believe, will be going down. It's just a question of at what point in time, because the drilling takes a while to set up. I have a girlfriend that is in Texas who owns the land, and she leases to drilling companies. So she tells me it takes a couple years. Okay, so now we move on to what's next. Real estate. Well, real estate in the United States, if you're an average person and not in that 1%, you're not going to be buying landmark real estate, probably. And you want to make sure if you're buying real estate, like if you're buying commercial real estate, that those businesses are so solid and that they're going to need to be there, that people are going to need those businesses. There's a lot of businesses that have gone under. I actually sold my pawn shop. I got so much money for it. Sold the pawn shop because people are looking for a pawn shop in hard times because they make tons and tons of money. So something like that you could have. I do have a lumber yard, which now with the housing crisis, there is so much inventory there. It's just hasn't fallen to the maximum capacity that it's going to fall. Partly what could help it is if Powell lowers the interest rates, but there's going to be a fight because Powell's part of the cabal that owns the Fed. So you're going to go against your boss, who, he doesn't want to. The families, the big R families, starts with an R. There's like 6 families that run all the food in the United States. I don't know if you've ever seen a picture of how it trickles down from families and stuff. So anyways, okay, I digress. So what do I do now with the money? And people are calling me. They want to buy my commercial real estate because it's what will hold strong during hard times. But if I sell it, where do I put the money? I'm not going to be able to get 10% return on new properties. It's going to be harder. I'm going to have to manufacture value, which means I'm going to have to be working at perhaps converting an apartment complex. I told you I'm looking at that 7-plex. It still hasn't sold. I'm standing firm on my pricing. We're waiting to see, but I need to get a lot of those lined up so that one of them falls into place. I'm cutting back on what I spend money on. And I think even if you have good cash flow, you should cut back on that. Where you put your money is another question. I don't know what your strengths are, but I think now my turn is, if I died tomorrow, I've been the luckiest person, well, except for one, the luckiest person I know. I've had a great life. I'm very peaceful. I live in two different places. I like where I live. I have friends that are real, not fake and phony, and that are valuable to me. So, what do you think you should be doing going forward? I do not feel, unless you can earn a lot of money, that just having a job is a good agenda moving forward. And I love how some people are setting up Airbnb, with the big flowers. Airbnb to augment what their main job is. And working hard, you know what I'm talking about. You're taking and turning something old into a miracle, landmark. And when you have kids, at some point in time, you're doing it for your kids. And maybe that's why the left wants to break apart families. They want you to be independent. They don't want you to have people you can rely on and people you can trust and anybody to fall back on except the government, because then that makes you very dependent upon people. So if you cannot do any other jobs, start to think of how you can protect your health and your wealth. Do you have pots in your backyard growing some food? My gosh, I have so many pea pods right now growing. I'm going to turn into a pea pod. I'm eating so many pea pods. And next, it's the yellow wax beans are starting to come out. The green ones aren't coming out yet. The asparagus is all done. But start planning ahead. It was a big learning curve for me to learn how to just grow basic food. I love you all. And I don't mean to have a heavy demeanor right now, but there's a lot weighing on my mind, and I'm so committed to my kids being able to enjoy the abundance and the wonderful, loving relationships and caring and being able to go to the beach and laugh with their friends. And providing a great life for them and not all stress and work. I'm going to do another video after this. I want to talk about gray man, being a gray man. More and more important. Okay, love you tons. Please subscribe if you can. And give me what thoughts you have on where and how you've thought about preserving your wealth or producing your wealth. You might give us some good ideas. Love you all. Hope to see you soon. Talk to you soon. See you on the video soon. You know what I mean. Okay, it's been a long day already. Bye-bye.